Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, give our praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh, Shabbat, Give a sincere greeting to all the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners, teaching this word with sincerity and charity. The link is in the comments. Talk about this new moon and give my thoughts on it. Shalom, sis. Sister Alicia. Where we at? Add slides. Google Slides. Phineas. You want new moon. All right, y'all. Give me 1 second here. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna give my take on what I think the new moon is, and this is one of them heavily debated things because the main reason it's heavily debated is because there's not a lot of information. There's not a lot of information in the text, very little, and I don't know how people be so boastful about it, about them knowing. How to keep this thing, when to keep it, because it's little information when it comes to the text. Now, there are some outside sources that give their take on it. So as Josephus and brother was using Philos on me earlier today. But I'm just going to give my stance on it because I know it's been a while. It's been a minute. You'll probably have to search these videos before you hear a stance from us on why we do it on the full moon. And understand, even though we were two bodies and became one body, became one congregation, Prince of Power and Cornerstone, he ended up becoming Maccabean Revolt. We both been through both cycles. But it's three. It's three really now. It used to be just two. It used to be just either it was full moon or either it was full moon or dark moon. There wasn't nothing else. And then came in the first slither. All right, and that's one of the newest. I ain't gonna say it's the newest because it's that's pretty much how the little hats, that's how they were doing it for who knows how long. So they've been doing it with the first slither, and then you have brothers doing it on the dark moon, and this is why everybody's feast days are a bit different. Everybody has feast days on the on different days. Ox said the oldest. It's the oldest. Which is the oldest? Chief 777 Shalom. Which is the oldest? The slither or the dark moon or the full moon? I think the dark moon for one West is the oldest. For one West Hebrew Israelism, the dark moon was the oldest to me, and that's kind of how I linked initially, because when we first started Prince of Power, we had a heavy debate. Matter of fact, I was the only one. Was dark moon. Everybody else was full moon. Everybody else was full moon with IUIC. And they outnumbered me. And we really didn't have no leader. Nobody was really considered a leader. That's why we just called ourselves Prince of Power. We just wanted to be like a ghost camp to help other camps. So it wasn't until some other stuff came. Excuse me, y'all. Some other stuff came where people had to be rebuked and so forth. That brothers saying, okay, well, he's the leader. But back then, nah. So when they outnumbered me, I said, okay, man, I just went with the body. I really wasn't convinced. And that's what I'm saying. It's very hard to convince because it's very little information. It's very little information. The chief says the Slither was the oldest. And I say, brothers are pulling statements from like Philos and Josephus, early first century, man, and they saying that they were doing the Slither. All right, they saying that they were doing the Slither. And I actually had another group that was about to that had came out of IUIC, and they were going to the Slither. They ended up going to the Slither, and that ended up being one of the reasons we couldn't. One of the reasons I know it could have been several other reasons, but as far as I know that was one of those contentions was on the moon. But let's go ahead and get into this thing. Genesis 1:16. And I just to to make it clear, I think it's the full moon. I've done it the dark moon. But I do feel this, and I'm gonna show you why I do feel it is the full moon. All right, it's not gonna be a long class. I only got about 8 or 9 slides in here. He says Darak Abar goes in on this topic. Darak Abar. Which congregation is he with? I'll check it out. Genesis 1:16, it says, and God made 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. He made the stars also. So he made 2 great lights. The one thing about the moon is that it's always full. The moon is always full. The moon ain't never a slither. It's never a half a moon. It's never a dark moon. The moon is the moon. The moon is a circle. It's always going to be a circle. It's just those cycles we can't see the moon. You just can't see it, but it's always the moon. All right, it's always the moon. Like the moon is full. The moon ain't halfway. It's only halfway dim because of the cycles. All right, and that's something to keep in mind. We're gonna go to Amos 4 and 10. Amos 4 through 10. Amos chapter 8, 4 through 10. It says, hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor fall, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying the balances by deceit. All right, and so this is Amos talking to the Northern Kingdom, and the Northern Kingdom was doing pretty well. Northern Kingdom were doing good when that split happened. All right, they were living bountifully. They were very prideful and living in abundance, but they weren't taking care of the poor. All right, they weren't taking care of the poor. And just to give some context of what we read here, because once we get to when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and we would glean from that to say, well, we shouldn't be selling on the new moon. All right, we would glean from that, but we have nowhere in the law, we have nowhere in the Torah where we see the Most High giving us these ordinances. We have to grab these ordinances from different places. Okay, when will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn? And so if the new moon has to go, if whatever we saying that moon is has to go, doesn't it make sense that it has to be something up there for them to look at? It got to be something up there for it to be, for you to wish it away. for you to wish it away, it should be something up there. For me. All right, for me, that could be fluff for others. All right, it could be a little fluffy. But they want that new moon. They're observing this, and they want that moon up there gone so that they can sell corn. All right, and the Sabbath that they may set forth wheat. All right, making the ephah small, that we may buy the poor for silver, and the needy for a pair of shoes, yea, and sell the refuse, or the fuzz of the wheat. The Lord hath sworn by the excellency of Jacob, surely I will never forget any of their works. Shall not the land tremble for this, and everyone mourn that dwelleth in? And it shall rise up wholly as a flood, and it shall be cast out and drowned as by the flood of Egypt. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord God, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day. Okay? That's very important for us to hold on to, because we're going to get into that. The sun will go down at noon. This is a type or a foreshadow. Time will go down at noon, and will darken the earth in the clear day. And I will turn your feasts into mourning, and all your songs into lamentations. And I will bring up sackcloth upon all loins, and baldness upon every head. And I will make it as a mourning of an only son, and the end thereof as a bitter day. Only son, mourning of an only son. Sun going down at noon. The earth will be darkened in the clear day. In the sunny sky, the earth will just suddenly be darkened, and you all will be mourning as of only son. Let me exit this here. I got a couple people, Brother Dion, in here. Shalom, Mop. Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse 32. I said it's gonna be a short class, man. You're gonna sneeze and you might miss this thing. Nehemiah chapter 10 verse 32. It says, also we made ordinance for us to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of a shekel for the service of the house of God, for the showbread, and for the continual meat offerings, and for the continual burnt offerings of the Sabbaths, of the new moons, for the set feasts, and for the holy things. And look what we got here. We got Sabbaths, new moons, feasts, and for the holy things, and for sin offerings to make an atonement for Israel, and for all the work of the house of our God. Okay? And this can be a tithe. This could be a tithe, but who made this ordinance? It says we did. We made an ordinance to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of a shekel for the service of the house. All right, we gave them a third part of a shekel to the priest. All right, for showbread, for meat offering, for continual burnt offerings of Sabbaths and of new moons. You had an ordinance to give a third of a shekel for your new moons. Every time we having a feast, we got to come together. Hey, we want brothers to, hey, can the brothers do this? Can everybody put in this so that we can have this feast, so that we can have this so we can prepare and have everything we need for this feast, so we can rent a venue. When you have all these things, you need to be putting certain things in. All right, they made this ordinance for themselves, but did the Most High tell us to do that? Should we take this as law? They figuring things out. You say, yeah, Chief says, yeah, we should take this as law. That we should, give a third. We should definitely, you can't do it without, we can't do it unless we all putting in. It's some wealthy brothers in Israel, but for the most part, a lot of us, we going through it, man. A lot of us check the check. And extra $100 or extra $50 out the budget could hurt us. Could hurt us. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily law. but I would say I would observe it because it's wisdom. It's wisdom, it's wise to do. And when you don't do it, you start getting, brothers start looking at brothers, and I hate to say it, but brothers, what you how much you pay? And brothers get mad. Man, I got to school when I first got to school for Prince of Power. Um Brothers was saying I was just trying to get brothers money, and I was paying for the school myself. Brothers was still backbiting, saying, "Oh well, Phoenix just got to school so he can collect money from." Even though I never asked them for bread, we came together and we said, "Okay, well, if everybody give $20 a week, we can afford a school." And everybody was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Again, we ain't have no leader. Wasn't nobody talking about there was no leader. Yeah, I give the $20. Yeah, man, $20 ain't nothing, man. It was about 10 of us. So, that's $80. That's our $800. That could get us to school. We could find a little building for $800. But when things hit the road, and then I went on, put the deposit down, da 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 da, woody woo, man, everybody got ghosts, man. Matter of fact, we lost about half the members at that very moment. But brothers did help me, get the chairs and put everything together. We set it up, we painted and all of that. But once it was time to start teaching class and going to classes, man, everybody fell out, man. Brothers say, "Hey, man, I teach on Monday, I teach on Wednesday, I teach on Friday, man." I end up having to teach every class there. I had to teach every class. Shalom, Nazarene podcast. Yeah, man, this one is for you. Of the new moons for the set feast, Shalom, brother. But we see an ordinance here that we charge ourselves yearly for this thing, all right? That we can have these certain provisions. Joel chapter 2, let's look here. It says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord." Now, remember too, I was talking earlier, we just went by and we seen that the I don't want to say the word, but we seen that he was gonna make the sun go down in the noonday. He's gonna make the sun go down in the noonday, and he was gonna make the earth in the clear day turn into darkness. All right. And then we see here again, we have the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. All right, before the great day of the terrible Lord. Now, is this saying that the moon will actually have blood on it? That the moon will be dripping blood? Oh, I guess it will just be full of blood. There's just gonna be blood in the moon. Or is it saying, is this a sign that we should be looking for? Let's talk about blood moons. A total lunar eclipse happens when the moon travels through the earth, umbra, and blocks all direct sunlight from illuminating the moon's surface. However, some sunlight still reaches the lunar space indirectly via the Earth's atmosphere, bathing the moon in a reddish, yellow, or orange glow. Okay? Or orange glow. Now, this thing happens during, it's rare, but it happens. It happens. Eclipses happen. Kind of frequent. I ain't gonna say frequently, but at least twice a year, you have a certain type of eclipse. There are like a total eclipse that's very rare. And I think the next one is April 2024 is the next one. I was reading some stuff on how it's big for Islam. That next total eclipse. But the thing to take from this is that the eclipse, it only happens during what they call a new moon. All right. And what they call a new moon is either what science calls is a dark moon. What the little hats call it is a slithered moon. Okay. But a dark moon will bring forth that eclipse, or a slither moon could, where it's weighing into that where it's, going into that that slithered moon could cause an eclipse. Very important to understand that, right? What is an eclipse? Or I said, Shalaki, was it an eclipse or act of God? All right, Luke 23, 42 through 44. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, today shalt thou be with me in paradise. And it was about the 6th hour. All right, it was about the 6th hour, which is noon. And there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. It was a darkness over all the earth. We just read Joel 2, and we read, I forget the other precept there, where it said that great and terrible day. We read about the blood moon in Joel 2, but we read also here in Amos 8, the verse 8 there, where the land will tremble for this and everyone will mourn. And it shall come to pass in that day, it will cause the sun to go down at noon, and there will be dark in the earth on a clear day, and the feast of mourning. And I will turn your feasts into mourning, and your songs into lamentations, and you'll be mourning of an only son, like the mourning of an only son. And I was telling you, this is a type and a foreshadow of what we see here. And Jesus said unto him, Verily I say unto thee, Luke 23, 42, thou shalt be with me in paradise. And it was about the 6th hour, noon, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. Now, if you believe that it's a slither or a moon, you can't say that this is an eclipse happening. You have to say that this is just an act of God, and God just made this happen. But and I'm gonna tell you the reason why, because for an eclipse to happen, it could only happen on a dark moon. And we know Christ died on Passover. He died on 14/15. That has to be, for that to be an eclipse, that would be a dark moon, meaning 15 days or 14 days prior was a full moon. That the moon was full on the first day of the month. And here on the 14th or 15th, you had a solar eclipse. You had an eclipse. And if you look at an eclipse lasts, scientists say that a total eclipse only lasts minutes, but a regular eclipse lasts about 3 hours. And so you'll have to say, well, nah, this is just something random. This is just an act of God. He just did it with his power. Which, I can't, I'm not gonna argue with you and go back and forth with you on that. But you can't say that I don't have a point here with Christ dying and it being a little. You can never say that if you deal with the slither or the full moon. You'll never be able to say that. And so that's one of the things you can ask him out the gate. But you shouldn't be trying to just, I got you. You don't have to play those games. You don't have to play those gotcha moments. You just give it to it and just be 100. All right. So Rock 43, this is another one that our people go to establish either or, because they either or. But if you read 1 through 8, to me it's pretty simple. Yeah, it was 3 p.m. in the day, from noon to 3 p.m. It said it started at the 6th hour to the 9th hour. It was darkness, and if you look at science, it says the eclipse lasts about 3 hours. Can last about 3 hours. So Rock 43, it says, verse 1, it says, the pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven, with his glorious show, the sun which it appeareth, declaring at its right. Now, and this is what I want you to understand, that he's giving you the cycle of both the sun and the moon. The sun when it appears, declaring at his rising, A marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon it parcheth. It's rising, then it gets to noon, and it parcheth the country. And who can abide the burning heat thereof? A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eyes. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment runneth hastily. It disappears. So you got it rising to noonday to super bright, and then you got it going away. That's the cycle. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times, a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. All right, that's the beginning of the cycle, is a decreasing. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmaments. Now, if someone trying to be a little tricky, they just gonna give you Sirach 43:8. They not gonna show you that the sun went up, and then the sun went down, and then the moon decreased, and the moon increased. They're gonna ignore that cycle, and they're only gonna pull one precept out. They're gonna isolate that 8 right there and say that's what it is. But I take that whole thing in Sirach or his grandson, showing us the cycles of the sun and the moon. The time appointed. All right, let's look at Ezra chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, and afterward offered the continual burnt offerings, both of the new moons and of all the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated. Watch what we got here. Both, it means 2, right? Both of the new moons and of the new moons and the set feasts. Okay? Got continual burnt offerings for these 2 things here. All right, there's nothing else. Okay, there's nothing else. New moons and the set of the feast. All right, of the set feasts of the Lord that were consecrated. Not that we just made up, but that were consecrated by the Lord, by Yahweh, and everyone that is willing, and everyone that willingly offered a free will offering unto the Lord. And I brought this up because when we read Psalms 81 in verse 3, blow the trumpet in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. People, you can see translations, but majority of translations are going to make this one day here. But there are a few translations that will say, we'll try to make this 3 different days. Okay, they'll make the new moon a day, and they'll just say like the translator just forgot and. The translator just forgot and just put a comma on there. But it's not a and there because it's all the same day. The new moon is a solemn feast day, and it's a time appointed. The time appointed here is the Hebrew word kisei. Let me share my screen here. Wait a minute. Present share screen window. Kisei, it means full moon. All right, probably fullness of the moon, i.e., it's festival. The fullness of the moon, i.e., it's festival. What is the festival of the full moon? We just read in Ezra that you had the new moons and you had the set feasts that are consecrated. What is the festival of the full moon? What are we doing on a full moon? What am I missing? What is the full moon? Why are the full moons so important? And why ain't the people who doing the new moon as the dark moon or the slither moon? Why ain't they doing something on the full moon? If that's some special day, because you can't say it's not a special day because full moon is in the text. And we'll get into the other verse here. So you'll have to explain what day is that? What full moon festival? And brothers will say, well, man, y'all worshiping idols, y'all worshiping the moon. It gotta be something done on the full moon. It gotta be something there for that word to be there. And when I'm saying it's gonna be there, let me stop sharing here. When I say it's be there, it's in the Psalms. It's in Psalms 83. In the time appointed means full moon. Blow the trumpet in the new moon, full moon on our solemn feast day. What is that? What is that done there? Brother said, what do you say? Unleavened bread, tabernacle. Unleavened bread and tabernacle fall on the 15th. And so these are the solemn. This is the solemn feast day. So it's the unleavened bread. The full moon. The in the time appointed right here is really tabernacles. And then why wouldn't the writer write that? Why wouldn't the writer write new moon, tabernacles, Passover, or unleavened bread? Why is he writing full moon? Come on, y'all. Why is he writing full moon? Proverbs chapter 7 and verse 20. It says, he have taken a bag of money with him, and he will come home at the day appointed. Again, that at the day appointed means full moon. All right, at the day appointed is full moon. Let me just go get that just in case we don't believe the brother. Hold on 1 second. Let me share my screen. Why is full moon mentioned? Why isn't dark moon mentioned? Why ain't slither moon or any other phase or half moon? There's no other phase even mentioned within the text. What was looking for? Proverbs 7:20. We have taken the money, con. And we look here at the day appointed. Appointed is Kisi. Full moon. I.e. is festival. Fullness. Now, if we look at the word, hold on. Let's go here to Psalms. Where we at? Psalms 81:3. Psalms 81:3. And like I said, man, it's if you saying that you got it figured out, man, you don't have a month, new moon, first day of the month, the lunar month. I was looking for something else here. Newness. And listen, it says the calendar of the lunar month, which was a festival. uh, so then we got two festivals. We have a new moon festival, and we have a full moon festival. We'll end up having two festivals with that. But I was looking for I don't know where brothers was pulling that from, where the it means to renew. That the Kodesh, the word for let me stop sharing here. The word for moon means to renew. And I say, well, if I'm depleted of strength and I tell someone my strength has been renewed, do you expect me to be at 5%? Do you expect me to be at 2%? When I say I renewed my car look new again, it looks the way it looked, and it looks brand new. Looks the way I look when I pulled it off the freeway. But again, the moon is the moon. It don't have it's not a half a moon or a slither moon. The moon is always full. It's always a great light. It's just you can't see it through its unless it go through its cycles. Unless it goes through its cycles. But that's pretty much it, y'all. I told you, if you blank, you was gonna miss this one. But because we went over this just several times, man, and like I say, at the end of the day, you have very little information. I can give y'all also this First Samuel 20 also, and I'm gonna show you what's what we're problematic about this thing too. Um, Genesis said far better. And so much kindness and Jonathan dealt there. Yeah, Jonathan made a covenant. I might have missed it. Okay, now verse 18. Let me share my screen. Uh, share screen here, and we'll look at 20. Um, y'all see my screen? Yeah. All right. It says First Samuel chapter 20 and verse 18. It says, then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly and come to the place, um, where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side. But this one, man, let me go down a little more. And the verse 25, and the king sat upon his seat, and as at other times, even upon the seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean. Surely he is not clean. Okay, now and see, again, there's something else we can glean here. Who where's the ordinance for the cleanliness? I guess because you gotta go say, but what's the ordinance for the cleanliness, and you finna go eat with Saul? I understand the temple, but we don't have these ordinances. We don't have them. You don't have, thus says the Lord, this is what you do on the new moon. We have to glean these things from the text, from what we're seeing in the text. Are people not selling? Are people, trying to be clean? Are people feasting? And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty, and Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan said to Saul, David earnestly asked to leave to go to Bethlehem. And he said, let me go, I pray thee, for my family have a sacrifice in the city. What is David doing? Where's the ordinance for the sacrifice, for the family sacrifice, for the tribal sacrifice that happens here? Where's the ordinances for this? That he can go do this on the new moon. And my brother, he have commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in thy eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore, he cometh not unto the king's table. And Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. He said unto them, thou son of the perverse rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thy own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? So we see also here 2 days being celebrated. Is the feast 2 days? How many days is the new moon feast? How many days is it? Where's the ordinance? So it's like, I don't know how we get so puffed up. I don't know how we get so puffed up about, that we just know these things for certain, because there's very little information within the text. And a lot of times, this stuff gets conflated with a lot of outside sources, outside books that most of Israel don't really follow like that, to fill in. And these books have been written to fill in gaps. These books, the writers of these books knew that this information was missing. Let me write a whole book on the luminaries. Let me just go ahead and get this thing nailed down for them. And that's how that thing goes, man. So for me, I'm just giving my position on it. For me, it still seems like the full makes the most sense to me, especially with the eclipse, especially with the fullness, especially with he won't be home until the full moon, being like that's something that he got to return home for. Why is that? And people can't give you the answer for that. You say, well, it must have been Passover that he came home for, so they just gonna call it a full moon. It's gonna call Passover a full moon. But I yield, man. If brothers have anything, man, you welcome to the panel's open, man. You can speak your piece. If you got anything to add. If not, we'll close this thing on out.
Nah, hey, shalom, family, shalom, man. Sorry for my tardiness, man. Got caught in captivity, man. But I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the until your lesson, man. All praise to the Most High.
Well, we'll hope this thing was edifying, man. Like I say, it's I feel like this thing gonna be debated for a long time. But at the same time, if we going to do the little hats, and you can follow the little hats, you should your calendar should be lined up with the little hats. If you gonna follow the dark moon, everybody calendar should be lined up with the dark. But even in that, it's not. Even in that, even with me, us and IUIC having the full moon, it still don't it ain't lining up correctly. There's a lot of information that we still need. And again, I don't know how we can be so pumped up on it if it's so much information that we're lacking. We're just going with speculation and a lot of fluff. But besides, even with this class, man, it's maybe about 7 precepts, and really only about 3 or 4 to to try to give us to see that cycle. But I think the Sirach is powerful, and I think the Psalms 81, the fact that full moon is there, and nobody spoke about that for a very long time, and that's what got me, because when I watched that video and I sat down and he was discussing the new moon, and I was the only one saying dark moon, And what's crazy is, you know, I think Nazarene podcast. I think you was in the room also talking about full moon, and I was the only one that was saying dark moon. And but I got home and I seen that time appointed with that word there was full moon, and I said, man, you know what, them brothers might be right, because even watching, you know, the dark moon premise and then watching the full moon premise, but the slither moon, for Israel, that's kind of been something that's it's kind of happened maybe the last 4 5 years. I've been seeing that premise popping up. And so, yeah, with that, man, I yield, man. I pray this thing was edifying. Just look at the precepts, and if whatever you decide on, man, just making sure you keeping it, man. Making sure you doing what you doing, man. Don't need to be huffing and puffing about this thing. You ain't gonna keep none of this stuff anyway. But I yield, y'all. Y'all be blessed. Shalom.
Come.